In this tutorial, we'll be talking about data types in that. Now, data types are those types of data that are predefined by the programming language. Now, this data type can be used directly in the program without the hassle of creating them. In that, we have different kind of data types from numbers to strings to booleans, etc. And we'll be covering them all in this series. But in this video, we'll be focusing more on numbers. Now, before we get started with numbers, I need to introduce you to two basic things, which is the first one is the DartPad. Now, DartPad is an online IDE where you can run your Dart code all online without the need of an IDE in your computer. The second one is the main function. The main function is a function you would see in every Dart program you would ever write and every Flutter program you ever write. Now, the main function is think of the main function like the door to every Dart program that you write. So without the main function, a Dart program would not run. So if I remove this main function from this and I click on run, it's going to give me an error because it cannot find the main function. So in every program we are going to write with Flutter and Dart, you would always need the main function. Now let's talk about numbers. Numbers in Dart can be divided into two, which is int and double. Int is a data type that is used to represent integer numbers. Now let's do a little bit of math lesson. Integers are numbers without any decimal or fractional numbers. Now, integer number can contain positive as well as negative numbers. While double is a data type that is used to represent fractional and decimal number. So integer is used to represent integer numbers. That is quite clear. Double is used to represent fractional and decimal numbers. Now, let's look at some example. Now, from our previous video, we know that integer, when declaring any variable in that, we have to know the data type, the name we want to give to the variable, and the value we want to give to the variable. In this example, since we are dealing with integer, we know that our data type is int. I'm going to give this int the value of age, and I'm going to give it Victor. So the int is the data type, like from our video. The int is a data type. One good thing about that part is once you click on the data type, it gives you a little bit of documentation here, so you can read more about it. So and the age is, like you can see, it's a variable. This 50 is the value of then given the age, the integer age. And while double can be declared as let's say average, and I'm going to give it 4.5. So if I click on this also, the documentation says, I'm just going to hide this. The documentation says, like you can see, floating numbers are also numbers that have decimal points. So this is just how you declare numbers, and that it can either be an int or a double. Now both int and double, since we said they are under they are both numbers, in that we have a superclass of them called num. So now this num can take any value. So I can give this age or average. So this can either be 1, it's going to work, or I can say 1.5. So with the variable num, you can declare either an integer number with it or a variable number. So as you can see from the documentation, it also says we can declare an integer or a floating point number. At compile time, that is going to try to convert this to either int or double. So if you give it at any other value apart from this, it's going to show an error. So if I give it When I put a quote around it, as you can see, it gives me this error because a string, that means a text, is not a subclass of number. So that means it can either be int or variable. So I'm just going to remove these quotes here. Like any other integer decimal numbers, numbers in that can be divided, added together, subtracted from each other, and so on. So we are going to explore that now. But before we continue, I want to show us one cool thing in programming, which is called comments. Now, comments, like the name, is used to leave comments or thoughts in a language. So with comments, you can write something for other people to see in your program. So for this, I'm going to write exploring ints in that. I can also like comment out codes that I am not using again or but I do not want to get rid of. To do that, I just press my command button and forward slash or control button and forward slash on Windows. So if I do this, it's going to comment out my code. Also, you can instead of having this slash slash, you can just do one slash and an asterisk, then come to the end of your code and do another slash and asterisk. So that is going to like comment out anything in between this slash and asterisk slash and asterisk. So that is how we make comments in that. So under here, we are going to start with additions in that. So I'm going to write another comment and write additions. Short. So, I'm going to put ints and put 20. Sorry, ints and put mics mic inch plus 20 and ints paper and constant like 15. So now I want to add these two variables together. So to do that, I can just come down here and do int sum of inch. I'll do mic inch plus paper inch, and this is going to give me the sum of these two variables. Now I can also run print. So with this, and it's what I can write sum of inch. So this print function is used to print an object to console. So I want to print out the sum of age over here. That is why I'm using print. It's a function in that is used to print out a sum. So to use it, I just put in the variable I want to use inside here. So I can click on this run button and it's going to give me the sum of these two variable. Awesome. We can also do subtraction and do minus. It gives me 5. And I can also do multiplication and do this 300. So if I want to do division, this is where um double comes in. As you can see, the IDE already tells me that this is an error because if I divide this by this, is likely to give me a floating point number or a decimal number in this case. This int is supposed to only represent number without decimal. So it's going to give me an error deal. What I can do is just, let me just put, I'm going to comment this and put this here or make it a double. And as you can see, okay, sorry, this is divided. And as you can see, my error has disappeared. And if I run this again, it gives me a floating point number. Now, there's some functions other than this simple addition and subtractions that comes with the number variables or number data types and that. So to explore everything, since I said we are going to really explore everything in this series, we'll go to dart.dev. This is the official website of the Dart language. So we go to docs and we go to language. This gives you an a tour of the Dart language. So you can go through this, but where we are going is numbers. And I have to go through I'm looking for the properties or the functions that comes with the int. So I'm going to hold down command and click on this int. It's going to open the API gallery of that. So it shows us the int class. And if I scroll down, I can see constructors, properties, and methods. Now, difference between properties and methods is properties shows information about a particular variable. So, while method make changes to a particular variable. It is also good to know that the int class and the double class share similar properties and methods. As you can see, it has finite here and it also has finite here. So we are going to be exploring the commonly used properties and method in both double and int simultaneously. So the first one we'll be checking is even, which if we go back to DartPad, we can just come to sum of age and do is even. This is a double. If we check the double class, we see that is even is not defined for this class, so we have to come back here and change it to int. If we run this, it's going to give us true because it's an even number. So the next thing we are going to check is finite. Going back, we can check. Okay, let me put two print statements here. One will be for double and one will be for int. So we can put this here. So we can check is finite and also check if is finite. And if we run this, let's say, should give us true because this both of them would not give us an infinite number. The next one, let's say, is infinite, which is the opposite of is finite, and is negative. For example, if this has a minus sign, let's just put like a minus sign here and change this to is negative, so, which is true because this would give us. Let me print out our results so we can see. And we see that minus 300 is a negative number and minus 1.33 is also a negative number. Let's check is odd. Basically, that is like the opposite of is even. The next one is sign. Basically, this returns the value, the kind of sign that is in front of your variable. So let's run this. This should give us -1. Because if we come to the documentation, it tells us it returns -1 for value less than 0 and +1 for value greater than 0. Next one Let's go. Okay, we are done with the properties of the int class. Let's check the double class if there's something else we need to explore for that space. So into the method called the first one is ABS. The int class also has the method ABS, so we are going to check them together. We put ABS. Don't let us forget the double quotes. ABS. Now, if we run this gives us an error because we didn't put the double parentheses. That is why we don't need to, we should not forget it. So let's run it again. So it gives us, as you can see from the documentation, it gives us the absolute value of this number. If the value is non-negative and minus value of the number, if the value is negative. So basically this is it. The next one would be cell. So basically, cell returns the least integer that is not smaller than this number. So let's perform cell. Cell. If we run it, as you can see, it returns the least integer that is not smaller than this number. So the cell of minus 300 returns itself, and the cell of 1.33 returns the nearest integer, which is minus 1. The next one is clamp. Basically, this is just to like make sure a number is between a range, which is like the lower limit and the upper limit. What does this mean? Let's go back to that part and put in clamp. We can impute 5 and 300. Let's impute and let's put in 50. We want stand better. And for this, we impute let's say 3 and 4. If we run this gives us 5. The int value gives us 5 because 5 is the nearest number between the, so according to the clamp value, the value of the number must not be lower than 5 and it must not be greater than 50. So if I remove this negative sign and run this again, this gives us 50. So we know that the answer is the result is 300, and what 300 is greater than 50, so it's clamped at 50. Now this, we know the answer is 1.34. 1.3 is less than 3, so it's clamped at 3. So going to the next one, compared to, let's go back to that part. The int class also has compared to. So going back to that class, we put in compare to, we run this. So this returns 1 because 300 is greater than 50. If we check the documentation here, it says returns a negative number if this is less than the other, and 0 if they are equal, and a positive number if they are greater than, this is greater than the other. So and for this other one, we see that 10 is greater than 1.3, so it returns minus 1. So if we make this 300, we should return 0. Awesome. Going to the next one, we have floor. Returns the greatest integer no greater than this number. Let's check out what that means. So if we put in floor, basically this is also like cell. but the opposite of cell. Let's put this as minus and see what the result will be. So as you can see, -2 is an integer that is not greater than -1. Now this returns 300 because 300 is also an integer. So for cell it returns -1 because 1 is greater than 1.33. So the next one we have remainder. Remainder. Okay, floor to double actually. So let's change this. It returns the same thing because as you can see here, when we check the documentation, it's supposed to return like a dot 0 here, but the console in that part doesn't print that. So the next one is remainder. So maybe here if we change this to remainder and I divide it by 5, it's basically going to divide sum of each by 5 and it's going to give me the remainder with that comes with it. For example, if I have 7 here divided by 5 and I run this should give me 2. This should give me 2 because 5 divided by 7 is 1 remainder. So send this back and I go to that. Let's confirm we are still on the same thing. Round is just like floor and cell. Rounds this to the nearest round returns the integer closest to this number. So round, going to DartPad and send this here. So round to double. Okay, now with to double, you can convert an integer to double. So basically this is what it means. If I come up here and I do int, okay, so if I come down here and I do int, it will give me an error because it's an integer. So if I want this to be represented as an int, I can just come here and do to int and my error will go away. Similarly, I can also come here and do double and do results double and sum of each can be converted to a double number. So sorry, this should be so double. As you can see, we have no errors. So that's the function of to double and to int. So we can also convert this to string. We are going to explore our strings in the next video. Let's check out what truncate does. Truncate. Basically, it returns an integer by discarding any fractional part of this number. So it returns -1 and discarded the 0.33. So that's basically it's about the double class. Now to the remainder in the int class, we have GCD, which is the greatest common divisor. So we can go to that part Since we're done with this, I can bring this up here and comment this. So do this, I do GCP plus MPS 5 and see what the result will be. 5. So if we change this to 600, it gives us 300. So let's remove this minus and run it again. Gives us 300. So the greatest common divisor between 300 and 600 is 300. Going back to the int class, we have mod inverse. This is basically has to do with modular arithmetics, so you can check that out. We also gone through remainder round to double to int and to string. So in the next video, I'll be exploring more about strings. Thank you and see you in the next video. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.